Tatra is synonymous with loud dump truck in its home country. They also produce some of the most intriguing executive road cars. However, a supercar might come as a surprise. Legally, it was not a Tatra product, but it featured so many major Tatra components that it bore the name. It wasn't cheap or super modern, but what's not cool about an air-cooled V8 supercar? The concept of a super Tatra dates back to the 1980s, when the Czechoslovak company, MTX, attended Formula 1 races at Hungaroring as a rescue team, the sole representatives from the Eastern Bloc. Modified Tatra 623s were used as rapid response cars powered by a 300 horsepower 3.8-liter engine. The T623 proved plenty fast for the task, and the founder of MTX, Cyril Svoboda, set his sights on a high goal: to see a Tatra as a pace car, a role mostly given to Porsches. Svoboda hired the renowned Czechoslovak automobile designer Václav Král for this task, with the objective of creating a supercar-like two-seater to rival Porsche, hence the nickname Anti-Porsche. It was so stunning that it appealed beyond its home country and Europe, but an unfortunate set of events halted production before it even began. Despite this, there are a couple of examples still in existence, and the car is interesting enough to warrant discussion. Svoboda aimed for a supercar built by local people, using local parts, which is why a Tatra 613 served as the donor car. At the time, Tatra was still producing passenger cars, and the company itself supported this project. The primary engineering work, including chassis development, was undertaken by Metalex, a specialist in custom and racing vehicles, while Tatra supplied the power unit, gearbox and suspension parts. The initial concept was completed in September 1986, and after years of aerodynamic refinements, the final shape was achieved in 1990. A steel-to-blue space frame with alloy elements was constructed around a rear mid-place air-cooled V8. The engine placement mirrored that of the T613, with the differential axis between cylinder 2 and 3 for improved balance. The front suspension utilized a McPherson strut design, while triangular trailing arms were employed at the rear. While this technology dates back to the 1960s, it provided excellent handling, although by the 1990s, cars like the 993 featured multi-link rear suspension. Notably, the vehicle boasted OZ racing wheels, fitted with Pirelli P0 tires, 245mm wide at the front and 335mm wide at the rear. The engine was also a carryover, albeit with some modifications to enhance its power output. The original engine was an air-cooled, aluminum crankcase 90-degree V8 with individual cylinders and twin double overhead cam heads. The 3.5-liter engine was enlarged to 3.9-liter capacity through wider bores, and with a twin cam setup and twin carburetors, it produced decent 218 horsepower at 5700 RPM. A more intriguing option was a Bosch KG-tronic fuel-injected unit with a high compression ratio and higher revs, cranking up to 305 horsepower. This version could rival the non-turbo Porsche 911 993 generation, boasting a 0 to 100 km per hour time in the mid-5-second range and a top speed of over 260 km per hour. The body was crafted from fiberglass and featured Lambo-style doors and banded windows. Initially lacking air conditioning, this was soon rectified as the interior could become uncomfortably hot. The front pop-up headlight system was borrowed from the BMW 8 series, while the taillights closely resembled those of the Tatra 613. Originally, No more than 2 examples were intended for production, but following the political regime change in 1989, the idea of a production road-homologated car became feasible. Group C regulations were also considered in case of a decision to pursue official racing. Prior to its public debut, extensive testing was conducted at the Tatra polygon and on various circuits. Finally, the nearly finished car was unveiled in 1991 at the Prague Auto Show, despite a hefty price tag of around 220,000 euros. Just slightly cheaper than a Ferrari Mondial, there were 200 orders placed from various buyers, twice the original planned production number. MTX was gearing up for a production launch in the early 1990s. Following the first red prototype, another red model emerged. However, it was sold to the owner of a carpet sales company from Germany, who placed a 40% down payment on the first day. Preferring a white metallic exterior with a red leather interior, the car underwent reworking to meet his specifications. The third car, finished in black, was sold to an Italian residing in Brno, who frequently traveled to Italy with it. This car even made an appearance in a Kanye West music video from 2010. Interestingly, the fourth example was delivered to the USA as a kit car, but reportedly never assembled. Unfortunately, this marked the end of production. MTX received an offer to sell the entire project, which they accepted, transferring all materials. Tragedy struck when the new owner's factory burned down, permanently halting the project without any further cars produced. Prior to this, Tatra itself was offered the opportunity to purchase the supercar project, but declined. The MTX Tatra V8 stood as one of the last road cars to bear the Tatra badge, as the final T613 rolled off the factory line in 1995, and the last model, the Tatra 700, saw production only for a few years, with fewer than 100 units produced. In 2023, the surviving 3 cars were reunited at the Tatra Museum and remained on display there until March 2024. What's interesting is that there are some words that MTX aims to launch a small series of new cars.